So for a lot of us guys that have Jeep parts, we've got some kind of shed. I've got a storage container. Maybe it's the back of your garage, but it's full of Jeep parts. And so some of these are Jeep parts. There's, you know, some other vehicles. There's just some random auto stuff. But as you can see, there's an F head, there's an L head, there's a little diesel. That's a Volkswagen diesel. Another L head, an L head, and an L head block way in the back. So, and plus I've got another L head in the shop. So that's what we're gonna do today. Pick through a whole bunch of these parts and see if we can get a running motor out of all this junk. Because, you know, instead of just storing it and it's all sitting here doing nothing, I want to see if we can put something together and have something usable. So I've got the old flathead here. We're going to try to get it running today to see. So I'm going to pull the spark plugs. This motor has sat for quite a while. I haven't even turned it over yet. But first thing I want to do, pull the plugs, just give it a quick visual, and then I'll put a little bit of oil, penetrating oil down each cylinder, just to give it the best chance of turning over. So the first thing I found was some acorns in the thermostat housing. So we'll pull that and clean that out. Plugs are out now though. We'll get that cleaned up a little bit and take a look. All right, so I put a little diesel fuel and oil into the spark plug holes and pulled the side cover off so we can see if everything seems like it's working good. We'll just take a ratchet and give it a few turns. And the motor just, it's spinning nice and free. So I don't think we're gonna have any problem with that. So we'll put some of this back together after we clean it up. Okay, all right, so we drained all the oil out of the pan, cleaned it up just a little bit there, and now we've just kind of stuck a battery on, and we're going to hook up our compression tester and see if we can see what the compression is. Okay. Yep. A little less, 100. Ready? Yep. Okay. That one's not so good though. 75. Now okay, 125 on that.
So it could be about.
So it came up to the parts engine, and of course it's full of rust and dog food. So definitely more dog food in the intake, so we're gonna take it to the parts washer and get it cleaned out. Okay, so we are just in full-on salvage mode because I don't have anything here. I was able to salvage a gasket. I know it's cruddy, but it's just for a test run. Had to take the intake and exhaust manifold off another motor because the one that was on it originally had a big crack out of one of the ears, just like all the intakes. And then we're salvaging some of the bolts and studs. So we're gonna get the intake put back on. We also cleaned up the plugs. So we'll put the plugs back in, and Mark went ahead and got a coil all set back up, and we actually have spark, so all the points and everything are good. We're getting very close to running. Okay, so we rolled the motor over to top dead center on number 1, got the spark plug wires back in the correct order. We've got our salvaged intake and exhaust manifold on. We're leaving open the valve train for right now, and the last thing we're gonna do is stick a carb on, and we're gonna be ready to test fire it. All right.
Oh, geez, yeah, the safety can.
All right. Probably gonna take more than that. Or not.
This is thing good.
I'll probably fall right off.
Oh, well, okay.
I'll come help pull.
Oh, yeah, I got it.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow. Really?
Oh, it's blowing off all that diesel and
Yeah, all the crap.
yeah, all the junk that was in it. All right. Show that something else. Doesn't sound bad at all.
No. I don't see you hear any weird noises.
Yeah, let's get her to fire one more time, huh? See any oil?
It's kind of looking. It may take a little bit for it to suck her up in there, but cool. Ready?
Yep. Now that we know the motor sounds pretty decent, we're gonna pull this junker carb off, slap a different carburetor on it, clean up the fuel pump, see if we can get it to pump some fuel, and then see if we can just get this little motor run a little bit longer, see how it sounds. All right, we cleaned up the fuel pump, just cleaned it, cleaned the screen, didn't do anything else to it, hooked it up to a little gas tank, nice fresh gas tank, and then threw the carburetor on. We've got the linkage, so we can do a little bit with that. So we are pretty much ready. Oh, and we threw an exhaust pipe on, which we'll see. Maybe we'll route it outside, but we're gonna first see if it'll fire, see if it sucks any fuel. The bowl is filling up with gas. And it's leaking all over. Hold up. Okay. So we took the fuel pump, the old gasket out there, and just kind of made a new one. It is still dripping a little bit. I don't know if the material I had for that is any good, but we're going to go ahead and see if we can just get it to fire up. Go ahead and let it go this time. That out, okay. Ready? Yep. Yeah, it is. So interesting, we had everything going. I decided to stick this other distributor on because the Vacuum Advance one that was there is a, kind of an odd distributor. So we put this in, it was off a little bit. So we indexed the oil pump to change the position of the rotor and got that all good. And we ran it a little bit, it sounded pretty decent. We thought, hey, why don't we do a fresh compression test now that it's come back up? So we checked number 1, good, about 125. Number 2, if you remember, was at 100. It came up to 125. We skipped number 3. We were gonna do number 4. The thing threaded in a little too far and the valve hit it and it's stuck. So now we're gonna pull the head. Okay, so we popped the head off, and if you look carefully, you can see that the valve got bent. So it's actually open on this side and it's touching on this side. You can see actually where that compression tool touched it. I don't know why it threaded in further on that particular cylinder. All the other ones, it just threaded in till it stopped. And so I wasn't paying attention to how far it went in. So now, gotta pull that valve, check it all out. Might as well just do a nice little cleanup on everything while we're in here now. I don't know if you can tell, but we put a Healy coil in number 4 and just kind of cleaned the head up, checked it for any little bad spots, and the head seems like it's in really good shape. So we'll just kind of finish some of that little bit of cleaning there, and that will be ready to go back. Just kind of cleaning up the surface before we put the new head gasket on. We went ahead with the bad valve. We went ahead and lapped in this one. So ground it with the coarse and the fine, and it seems like it's seating pretty nicely. All right, so we cleaned everything up, and we've got the original head gasket sprayed with a little bit of copper spray. We're gonna put that on. and reuse it. Boy, it looks brand new, doesn't it? It is all back together. Everything is back on as it was. Now it's back on as
There
it
we
was.
go. Now it's
Okay, so we've got the new valve in. Went ahead and set all the valves while it was open. We're going to our fuel line. Oh, we got a little leak right there, but that's okay. We'll get that in a minute. We're ready. We're gonna fire it up. All right, let's give it a shot. Let's see what's going on.
We got gas.
No, we need more gas. Gas. Something in the bottom end is rattling.
Yep.
You may have heard, we heard a little bit of a bottom end noise. So instead of running it, the motor seems pretty decent. I know we're kind of doing this all, on the super cheap, but there was a noise, so it was like we shut it down. There's definitely some metal in the oil pan shavings, and we found number 2. The crank looks okay. It's not pristine, but the bearings spun in the crank. So we dropped the bearings out. We're gonna go see about getting some other bearings for it and see if we can put it back together. So we dropped the pan. We found that we had 3 sets of bearings that were bad. 1 set was good. So we took some out of another motor that was out in the shipping container. They were 40 overs. So I went through 3 different motors trying to find the bearings so that we can get this thing back together tonight, because Mark's leaving tomorrow. So we want to get this thing running one more time before he leaves. Okay. I think that's gas. All right, well, it is running again. There is no knock, but we did notice we don't have an oil pan gasket on, and it was dumping gas right into the oil pan. So you can see that is not oil, it was gas. So our fuel pump is shot, but we have been working all day on trying to get this thing back together so it would run. It runs, it sounds good. We're going to call it a night. This one's gonna get cleaned up just a little bit more, and then it's going in a Jeep.